Other social media sites like Twitter do have a policy of advising their users. Twitter did once over WikiLeaks, if you remember. Well, Andy Greenberg is a writer for Forbes magazine covering cybersecurity and privacy issues. He says the recent revelations don't give a full picture of how much US authorities are using Facebook as a tracking tool.
This is such a tiny, tiny tip of the iceberg that they are reporting on. In fact, in 2009, Facebook told Newsweek that they received 10 to 20 data requests a day from law enforcement. So we're talking about a couple of dozen in this story. You know, that doesn't even come close to the sort of data, hemorrhaging that I was imagining Facebook was already handing over to the US government.
As far as I understand, Facebook doesn't warn anybody that this might happen, although Twitter does, or it did at least once.
That's right. In at least one case, that is these WikiLeaks associated individuals, Twitter did tell them that their data was being requested, and that gave them a chance to fight that request. As far as I know, Facebook doesn't give these individuals that sort of request. In some cases, they've even been charged with crimes and been found guilty, and even after the case is over, they didn't know that the evidence that was being used against them was originally found on Facebook.
Is there anybody fighting against this?
Well, I think that this is certainly one of the biggest issues for the American privacy community. Folks like EPIC, that is the Electronic Privacy Information Center, and the Center for Digital Democracy, and those sorts of folks do see this as a huge threat. This is probably especially in terms of the gap of the understanding of the average American and the size of the privacy problem. I would say that this is the #1 issue in privacy.
American citizens theoretically have the Fourth Amendment protections, and this possibly infringes upon that. But what about foreign governments perhaps requesting information from Facebook, and also foreign nationals perhaps who US federal authorities might want to look at and ask Facebook access to their accounts? What about all of those issues?
Yeah. Well, in terms of foreign governments asking for data on Facebook users, Facebook probably isn't as bound to give up data to those foreign governments because their servers aren't in those countries, so they don't face the same kinds of legal consequences. If we look at Google as an allegory, Google is much more transparent about all of this. In fact, they put out this biannual report that tells exactly how many times they gave over data and how many times that data was requested by each government in the world. Now, on the question of foreign users of Facebook and American agents asking for their information, that's a much hairier issue. I mean, the fact is we know so little about what Facebook is even handing over with regard to American citizens. The restrictions on what they could hand over on foreign nationals seems even smaller. So I don't want to speculate, but it seems like they're free to hand over quite a lot of that data.
And just very finally, looking at the mechanics of what information might be on somebody's Facebook page, somebody might think that they're being vigilant by either deleting posts or having very strict privacy settings. But that doesn't mean anything, does it? Because anything and everything is still stored somehow, some way by Facebook.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, there's every time that Facebook changes its privacy default settings, there's this enormous uproar, and everybody sends out these viral messages saying, everybody turn on your privacy settings and pay attention to this. The fact is, even the most disciplined, the most private user, all of their data is public to law enforcement as soon as there's probable cause. And that's something that nobody seems, the average user certainly doesn't realize.